Oh, that's an alarm. I was like, yo,
Well,
one says like 3:30, one says 1:20.
Well, yeah, that's 3:30 p.m. Because he's got a client at 3:30. So that is that. I usually wake up at like 6.
You sure
I
you're
I get up at 6.
Okay.
Howdy, and welcome back to another episode of Voyagers Path, Season 2, episode 3. Today I have Ahmed, Kevin Wynn, and myself, your host, Tony Drake. Previously, we had all talked, well, not all of us, two of us have talked about direction of life. Now, to recap, we have things that you, as an individual, are accountable for, which is the relationships you choose to have, and the direction of your life, the direction you take your life. Through the dartboard method, which Ahmed and I talked about, you can determine the level of T, which again is time, energy, and attention that you spend or offer somebody. And that could be coworkers, that can be family, that can be romantic relationships. And that will hopefully raise your awareness regarding how much people will influence your life. Because if you start realizing, okay, this is how much time I give to this person, you don't have to actually start writing it down, but if you were to observe how much time you give people, you'll see how much time slowly is eaten away by other people, and that will in turn influence how much time you get to do this and how much time you can spend on this, and you realize that people influence your life by default. And if you don't, it's kind of like flat earth thing. If you don't believe it, doesn't mean it's not true. That whole the next bit, through examining the term direction, which Kevin and I did, which I don't believe we filled you in on, so you can listen up, good boy.
Yeah.
The term direction, we find that it's not one singular thing. It is instead made up of multiple factors like belief, your morals, principles that you have, the even initial goals, which we talked about last time. And we've only touched on the initial goal aspect of the direction part. The significance there lies that goals are essentially challenges. And challenges, what do they offer? They offer development. They offer a form of struggle to overcome. And goals are challenges in their most positive form. And hopefully, through setting your goals, you will be able to then influence what direction your life is going, rather than having unplanned events in your life decide the direction of your life. Comprende? Capiche?
Capiche. I got it.
So, another thing I wanted to touch on, and this is keeping in mind we don't have 30 million viewers yet, but we will maybe sometime later this year. That seems a reasonable suggestion. But there's not a whole lot of feedback, so I don't have too much to, not too many questions to answer, not a lot to, what's the word? Pick apart. Anything I've said, if people have questions, usually I try to pick apart, which is why I enjoy face-to-face conversations more than text or email or stuff, because I can say stuff and people will be like, well, I don't actually get this, and they can then read my body language, they can hear my tone of voice, they can interpret it and then say, this is what I thought you meant, and then in that instant I can fix it. But when there's not an audience, it's hard to know what you've been saying wrong, and that's why I check with you guys, that's why I check with my dad. But the fact now that I want to make known is that when we do have 30 million viewers this year, or next year, or maybe 3 years, I'll give some grace period. When we do have those people watching and listening, I want them to be able to listen to this show years from now and still take something from it and have that oomph factor. Yeah? Does that make sense? Am I losing you?
I mean, oomph
factor? Like that pizzazz. Like it still has a little touch, even though it's like...
Impact.
Thank you. So something that you should always be aware of throughout the entirety of this podcast is, as long as we do this, which may be hopefully a very long time, something here that we're trying to combat, something that I would say this podcast is against is drifting. And I
Mm-hmm.
talked about this last time, is you have to be aware of drifting. And again, drifting is when someone does not think for themselves, but instead allows the world to do the thinking for them.
Mm-hmm.
And since we can term the phrase voyagers, we are voyagers on this journey of life. And being such, we have to be courageous enough to think for ourselves, because sometimes it's a hard thing to do, I believe. I think it's harder to stand up and believe and think outside the box and think outside of what everyone else believes and has been told, or at least had integrated.
I'm not.
What's the
I'm
English?
not good with grammar.
You're not either? I thought
No.
you were the grammar guy.
We know what you mean.
Okay, we'll just skip that one. But the fact remains, if you don't think for yourself, you don't really you're not really living. I
Mhm.
believe if you're not thinking for yourself, then you don't really live.
Mm-hmm.
So that's that as far as the recap goes. So now we're going to dip into the actual episode.
Mm-hmm.
There's a quote for this episode. The quote is as follows: "Show me your friends, and you show me your future."
Mm-hmm.
I like that one.
That's good.
That is good. Do you know what that means, Ahmed?
Are you asking for me to
I'm
interpret the?
I'm asking you to do so, yes. So I
Okay.
can drink my water.
All right. Well, if you say "show me your friends" and you show me your future, it's essentially the same as saying, show me how you're gonna be impacted by those close to you. Because friends, people are close to their friends, but if you hang out with a group of,
Hooligans.
hooligans, sure, or people that break the law.
Naysayers.
Are you from the 80s? People who, break the law constantly. Eventually, you'll take that as, oh, if my friends are doing it, I should too. And your future will eventually become the same thing. I will be like them and break the law.
So if your friends jump off a cliff, would you jump off a cliff?
Personally, no, but that's what the quote.
That's the whole.
Yeah,
I get
that's
you.
the whole thing.
What if you're bungee jumping?
What
Well,
if-
that's a different story.
Okay. Well, cool. I like. Did you have any other interpretation on that quote?
I think a quote that's the same as this is "you are who you hang out with."
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think it's ties in the same situation,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
same
yeah.
meaning. I think that's all. I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
That's
think it's the
exactly.
same
You are.
meaning,
You are who you surround yourself
Uh-huh.
with, and that's ties back to that Denzel Washington quote of like, if you're around 5 confident people, you're the 6th. If you're 5 intelligent, you're the 6th. 5 idiots, you're the 6th. So
Mhm.
if 5 billionaires, you'll be the 6th eventually.
Mhm.
Which is cool. Thank you. I think that was actually really good.
Mhm.
So, in this section, this episode, we're going to be looking into friendships and defining what a friend really is. Previously, on the Dartboard episode, Season 2, Episode 1, relationships, we talked about you are accountable for the relationships you choose to have in your life because, in turn, you're allowing them to influence your life.
Mhm.
You are allowing these relationships to have some level of influence by just the mere fact of offering them your time, energy, and attention. Excuse me. Excuse me
Oh
again.
my goodness.
Sorry. Woo. It's the breakfast I didn't have. And and so when it comes to friendships, that's what we're going to start with. In the future, we're going to talk about romantic relationships. We're going to talk about family relationships, and then we'll also hit like coworker, work, boss stuff. And the reason why I wanted to talk about friends, mainly, friends will make up a large factor of your life. Friends are people that you're out of the floodgate when you're put into public school, or maybe even if you're put into school or some type of club or hobby as a child, you're then forced to integrate with these other kids and children, and so therefore you will make friends usually if you're good at it. And I was lucky enough to make friends, but I also made bad friends. I had bad decision-making skills, which was a gift to learn. I didn't know it was a blessing in disguise, I'll say, because
Mhm.
bad decisions, usually you can learn from those if you actually look back and see how bad of a decision it was. But regardless, when it comes to the influence your friends have, depending on how close they are to you, they are more intimately connected to you, and if you aren't careful of who you're surrounding yourself with, you can be loyal and you can devote this time, energy, and attention to people who aren't positive.
Mhm.
And so that then back to who you are, who you hang out with. If you're surrounded by a lot of negative Nancys or sad Susies or terrible Toms, then sorry, then you too will also be a bad berry. Yeah.
Are you
Full
proud
of
of
it today.
yourself?
Yeah, I am. Okay. So, before we begin, I advise that you guys, viewers, the 30 million of you, write out a list of who you currently consider a friend. I advise that you make this as long as you actually need it to be, of course, keeping out family, keeping out co-workers, but mainly like high school friends, college friends, people that you would just define as a friend. And then define what a friend is to you. We are going to later on give our own well, at least I'll give my definition. Maybe they will give their definition. I would like them to. We'll see if they have one. But the fact is, hopefully you can take your definition and then take my own. And it's not, of course, I'm not Gandhi. I am not a yogi. I'm not a Zen master. I am still learning a lot of this stuff. I have tried to fill my brain with a lot of positive things, with a lot of things that help develop my brain, because I spend a lot of time breaking down my brain. And also my dad is a big part in that. Surrounding myself with people and knowledge out there that can help understand what's going on with myself and with the world around me. So no, anything I say on here, it may not fit your standards. It may not be the same thing I say 5 years from now, but it is hopefully something that is kind of like a lighthouse, where you can look at it from the sea that you're in and hopefully get some direction, some guidance from wherever you are lost at sea. Hopefully not lost at sea, but in sea. Okie dokie. So, what is a friend? Very good question. Thank you for asking.
No problem.
I found the Webster definition,
Mhm.
which we can hit that actually real quick. Just to be technical, Webster defines a friendship as a person whom one knows and with whom one has a bond of mutual affection. And real quick, affection, not meaning sexual, just meaning a level of mutual sympathy, trust, and support. And the friend is typically exclusive of sexual or family relations. I find that when talking, people are pretty general. They're pretty vague with their communication skills. And so we have misconceptions. We have misunderstandings. We have people say A and someone else takes it as B. It's like that telephone game. Do you know that you have people in a circle? I whisper something to my left. I whisper a sentence.
It constantly changes.
And as it hits back to me, it's something totally different. You're aware of that?
Mhm.
That's what I end up finding in life, is that if I say something to someone, they will either... I have to be very careful, especially in my case, because apparently, according to my dad, I say things, and I'm not too precise, and I leave a lot of room for interpretation. And that confuses people.
I agree.
Not necessary.
Well, I mean,
I think it was very necessary.
yeah, I think so too.
So, due to how general people can be with the words they speak, oftentimes people will mistake friendliness for a friendship. Oftentimes people will hang out with people, and just because they hang out with this person, which I was at fault for in my younger years, I would hang out with people, and it was not just because I was actively trying to rebel or anything, but I had a very poor idea of what a friend was. I didn't have a very good understanding of what human actual relations were like, because I was a social kid, but I was mentally not a very
Mature.
sound, I guess mature, but also I was not mentally sound. And so people were more like not a person. And it was just, this guy has pot, I hang out with this guy to get pot, I can get pot, good deal. I just, this person is annoying, but who cares, pot. Or any other thing. But mainly what helped with me was realizing when I got back to Texas that, okay, first day back in Texas, Chase, Chase. Chase was at the time my best friend, and I got back to Texas, and I hit him up, and he said, "Hey, yeah, can I come over?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." I'm hanging out at my Nana's house, and it's like 12 a.m. or 1 o'clock in the morning, and then he and his girlfriend at the time come in through my window, and we just smoke pot in my room. And that was like, at that time, I was like, oh yeah, hanging with my friends, doing cool things that kids get to do because we're kids. And now looking back, it's like, well, I wasn't actually hanging with a friend. This guy I knew when I kind of knew, because of how much time we spent together. We, of course, say stuff, and we get to learn a bit about each other. But as far as a friend goes, he was not what a real friend is, at least not a friend now, or not what you guys are to me, because you guys are the real deal. Yeah. Okay. Here we go. So another thing I have on here as a way to help clarify what a friend is. In order to bring some clarity to it, I had a few tips and tricks to offer these folks, the 30 million people watching. I first want to use an example of another pretty general term people get mixed up that has almost multiple meanings, the word love. So, Ahmed, do you love me?
I mean, I don't roll that way, but I mean, as a
Kevin?
brother, yeah, sure.
Who do you love? Do you love your mom? Oh, oof.
I can say I love my baby sister.
That's nice. Okay, so yeah. So Ahmed's love for me is different than the love that you share for your baby sister, right? So that's kind of the idea there, is that I use the blanket term love, and I think that is mainly because how English, not that English is, I like English. English has the opportunity to be very precise if you know the words, but because of, I'm not going to throw shade, but education system in America is not top notch. So also me, I didn't take the time to become an English major or care for English class at all. So I'm not too good with words at most times, but the fact that your love for your sister is one thing and your love for me, even though it's romantic in nature, is not the same
Wait a minute.
to his baby sister. And so that's something you have to keep in mind. There are a lot of words out there like that, and I feel that friend is the same deal. Do you think people can misinterpret?
I mean, the fact that there's friend and friendly, but being friendly to someone that isn't your friend is a thing, then yeah, it can be very confusing.
It can. Amen. So, when my dad first approached me that I had bad seeds or apples in my life, I needed to separate them, which is why the whole dartboard thing came to be, right? And for what worked for me in my head, which may be different for said viewers, the 30 million of them, which I'll keep saying until the day I die.
You could just say Voyagers.
Oh, then I feel like that one guy is like, "Hi, sisters." You know, that was the name James Charles?
Sure.
I feel like
but
that
like,
guy. Hey, Voyagers.
they're the Voyagers. Like, what's up, Voyagers? You don't
Okay.
like that?
Well, I don't know. We'll have to chew on.
I prefer that over 30 million.
Well, there's more to. You got to put it out there to get it. But okay, I feel all right. I will. The Voyagers. When it comes to those watching, of course, nothing I say or anyone says should ever be taken black and white. Of course, if I say one thing, it may not work for you, so that should be always in the back of your head when you're watching stuff that I do or say, which I still struggle with doing because I talk in black and white and think in black and white. But regardless, I had a kind of tier list of people in my life. I had to break my friends down into friends because, of course, how I thought of it, Ahmed, you would get all of my time, energy, and attention and love if you needed it.
Thank you.
Kevin, when we first reconnected back last year,
I think it was a couple months ago, maybe.
What? Couple months ago? No. Okay. Anyways, back when we reconnected, was it a couple months ago?
Yeah, it was a couple months ago.
No.
Was it not?
No, we've been doing this for more than a couple months. Anywho.
Okay, what's the definition of a couple months to you?
A couple freaking months.
A couple months means like
Okay, well,
maybe
some
like
people
half
say a
year
couple
almost.
is two or something.
Yeah,
I think it's like
couple's
4 almost.
That's like a few.
There's another
See,
example of
there's
couple being interpreted
there's
differently. Some say two,
Okay.
some say like 5 or 6.
A couple means two.
I say maybe a couple is like
Okay.
like a pair is.
Okay, I see
Sometime
why
last
couple
year,
means two.
Sometime last year, whenever, just regardless, the last time or the first time we reconnected after I got back to Texas and you got back to Texas, you would not have the same level of influence. I would not allow you the same level of influence. I would not give you and offer you the same amount of tea than I would Ahmed at that time. So how I divvy up in my head, I have, which Ahmed helped me with this term, you have like a normal friend, which is just a single step above an acquaintance. And if you go back and watch the dartboard one, like you'll have acquaintances and then inside ring. I think in that case it was like acquaintance and then you have coworkers and then friends and stuff like that. But for this sake, how I have mine set up, and since I don't have one on me, and at this point I don't really use it too much, it's all kind of, I've done it enough and I've done it long enough and I've had it refined to where I can just kind of move things around in my head with it. I have above an acquaintance, I have like a normal friend, and that's someone who is not. They're not an acquaintance. They are literally a step up from an acquaintance, but they're not a good friend, which we'll get into in a second. But as an example, that would be you. After we decided to reconnect more, because we reconnected, and then following that, we started to talk more, get together more, pick each other's brains about things, get you on the podcast, and that was the progression of you getting closer and closer.
Getting more time, getting more tea.
Getting more tea. Dude, I don't know why I'm burping so much. Anyway, so a good friend, that's just a level above normal friend. And then for me, just to keep it simple, each tier, which is, again, friend, good, great, and best, each one is just you're allowed a little more of my time, energy, and attention. I'm going to give more to you and for you. That's kind of like how I would like to think of it. That's the best way right now I can give, or best way I can explain it. And hopefully that'll give you some wiggle room whenever you look at your own list that hopefully you did write out or type out or whatever. And at first, when the first time I did it, you weren't in my life, R.I.P. You were, and I had you on the besties till the endsies, and then I had two friends on my great list. And then I didn't have anyone on my good list. There was no one on my good list. I then had what we call here normal friends. I had a single guy on there, and he was more because I knew him since like 5th grade. I have been over to his house, and we would play games. We would have a house party. We would drink. We would do stuff like that. Things that were kind of fun and that took a lot of time, energy, and attention. But it was always in a group setting. It was never one-on-one. And he's the type of guy that his brain is brain dead. Like, I can't pick it. There's nothing like, you ask him a question, he's like, I don't need to talk about that right now. Okay, cool. Then I won't. Which that won't work for me. I have to. I can't just be around people and I have to know what you're about. I have to be able to talk with you, which you know what I mean. Yeah. You know what I mean.
I mean, the main way to get from normal friend to good friend is you have to get to know them better.
Because they could be a serial killer.
You could be friends with someone, and then it's like, yeah, I murdered puppies, and you're like, oh, let me just call the cops.
It's like dark.
Yeah.
Like Ted Bundy had friends. I'm sure he had friends. And look what happened to that guy. Not a good thing. No, not a joke. Don't laugh.
You're the one that laughed.
The next thing.
I'm not sure who that is.
It's a serial killer.
Yeah, he's a pretty bad dude. Dead now, I think.
Was he the one that Zac Efron had the documentary?
Yeah, the movie. Yeah.
There's a...
We'll have to tell you about it later.
Okay.
But yeah, he's a very...
He's like a famous serial
very
killer.
Very famous.
Recent famous serial killer. Not like Jack the Ripper, like past couple of decades.
70s, 80s?
I think so.
Okay, anyways. The importance here is, again, tea, which you highlighted. Good thing is tea. That sounded weird. So giving someone a title here signifies how much tea they'll get from you, how much tea you can...
and what does tea mean?
Time, energy, and attention.
Okay, go
on. You like that?
No.
All right.
Not the way you said it, but go ahead.
I like to also think of it as a dollar. And there was a time where what helped me started to... What influenced this more than anything, next to my dad, was calling you a friend and then calling someone else at work a friend. And I was like, okay, Ahmed is like the second coolest guy I know.
Second.
My dad is the first.
Oh.
Sorry. And then this guy I work with who I've known for a few months, I also call him a friend. Well, that's like a dollar bill. You know, I'm just handing a dollar bill is
The
not
word has lost its meaning.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So we'll bring that reference up again later, and then I will in the romance one later. So just keep that in mind. But that's a good. I like to think of a lot of things like that. My brain works that way.
Mm-hmm.
Here comes another one. Oh, man, burps, dude. Is
It's part of your body.
part of the body.
Part of the body process. I don't know.
Yeah.
Go on.
So dollar is common. $100 not as common. That's why it
Right.
has more value. So I would also advise, back to the whole communication's a little funky with people. If I were to tell you, like if we were talking, and I didn't just tell you that I have a list of friend, good, great, and best, and you didn't know that, and then you were asking me, we were just talking, and I said something like, well, you're a good friend, you're not a great friend. You'd be like, what the heck? Or what?
That's kind of hurtful.
A little cold.
Yeah.
Like I would think.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why when talking to people, got to be careful. You can't just, you have to either explain that whole thing to them first and then be like, because now you're a good friend. Well, I wouldn't even say you should. That seems like a little too.
I mean,
They don't have to know.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah,
you
they don't
can
have to
people
know.
can say my best friend and like you're friends with them and you're like, okay, well I'm not their best friend, but I'm still like a good friend.
That's
with
like
them.
the people. Yeah, people used to call it like in high school. People were like, oh, this guy's my best friend. Like, bro, I forgot your name. Oops.
To you?
Yeah.
Oh, crazy.
I was just the popular guy.
I guess you maybe.
So yeah, be careful again of how you go about explaining this to people, and how you go about because I am aware of how I introduce people.
Uh-huh.
If I'm talking about someone, I'm like, this guy is my friend. I won't say this guy's my friend if they're a coworker. I'll be like, this guy is my coworker. This guy is my colleague, because I'm making a mental note, and you could say like holding the line. I'm making sure I apply that every time it's appropriate. I'm trying to make sure that I have that boundary, because that's what that is. At the end of the day, is the boundary. And there are certain things that a good friend, there are certain qualities a good friend has that a great friend doesn't have. There are certain things about you, like that a beautiful body, that Kevin just doesn't have. So he will never be a best.
Sorry, bro. I think you have a beautiful body. Don't worry.
Thank you. Thank you. Maybe Tony's the one that doesn't have a good body.
Oh.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
insecure. So, what I would then say is, I like to come up with examples.
Oh.
Another thing, just to, what do you call that? Not hammer it in. That won't work. To iron it in? Is iron it in like a thing? You know, like with a patch.
I have no idea.
Like you
what you're
iron in
trying
a
to push
patch,
to.
you use heat and it sticks. Is that a term?
Hammer down.
You know,
I don't know what you're trying to say.
We'll skip it. Skip
Okay.
that. But the thing, just to solidify this a bit more, is another example. because I like-
Reinforce it.
Reinforce. That's a good one.
Okay.
That's a nice one, Mr. Grammar Guy. Is you have let's say you have a normal friend,
Uh-huh.
like a guy you've known for a few months, and his car is like broken down, and he calls you up for some reason. I don't know why, but he does. Maybe because you seem to be that guy, and he's like, hey, I need your help. Look into it. That's like a 2-hour drive because of traffic. Maybe you're in LA or something. I don't know. Traffic is crazy. And 2-hour drive there. You have to fill up your tank because you're at like a quarter tank. So you have to spend more money on filling in the gas. And then you have to drive him home, which is God only knows how many more hours that'll be. And so that's just a lot of time, energy, and attention.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe not. I wouldn't say, again, black and white, nothing's black and white. Maybe there is a reason why you should.
It's definitely up to you, but
Definitely up to you. But it's
the whole point of like time, energy, and attention is, you can't do it with everyone. If you're gonna spend multiple hours with, like, if say for example, 2 people in that scenario, 2 people broke their car down.
I was just about to say
Yeah. 2 people broke their car down. You need to drive multiple hours to get there, time, attention, and energy, but you can only have so much time and attention and energy. So obviously, if they're a good friend, you would still do that. But at that point, if it's a normal friend versus like your best friend, you'd probably choose your best friend.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. When there's a situation where you put both on the table and it's happening at the same time, you got to pick.
Uh-huh.
Pretty easy to pick, but when there's not When it's just, which is more common. I don't think I really don't think there'll be the situation where your bestie or your normie, I don't know. But when it comes down to it, then yeah, you have to take that into consideration. And maybe you're in a meeting. You know, what if you're in a very important meeting? You're like, hey, guy, no, I'm not going to be. This meeting's been postponed before, and it's like my job is riding on this thing, so no, I'm not going to pick you up. Sorry, go get a towing company to help you out or something. That's what I would recommend. And yeah, back to the best friend thing. If it is your best friend, no factor, just go do it because it's your bestie. Maybe they'll understand if you don't, too, because if you're in a meeting.
You could just ask them to wait.
Yeah, you could. What if it's a long meeting? What if like a 2-hour meeting?
Well, they can wait 2 hours, I guess.
What do they do for 2? No, I'm not going to dig into that one. Okay. Another factor, another aspect of friends. So we've already talked about what a friend is, right? And we've defined what we've said what Webster has as a friend. We've also said I've given away of grouping your friends, the list of friends you may have, and making sure you can identify the type of friendship you have with that person. The next thing I feel is key is being able to cultivate and maintain a relationship. And I wanted to just wiggle in, how hard is it? Do you think it should be hard to maintain a relationship?
Relationship or friendship?
Friendship. Well, technical 2 in 1.
Let's
but
just say friendship.
Well,
for
yeah,
now.
I'm sticking to a friendship, which is a relationship, but not gonna have to be nitty gritty with it.
Kevin, would you like to start us off?
I'll let you go first, and while
Okay.
collect a little bit more.
Do you think it's a task? Do you think it should be a chore? Do you think it's something that you have to actively do to maintain this friendship? Not this one per se, but this a friendship.
Personally, it's really hard for me to like maintain and put in a lot of effort for friends because like you need to put in the, time, energy, and attention. You need to do stuff where you maintain that friendship because, for example, for high school, like when the transition from high school to college, a lot of people went different directions. Some of my friends went to the same university as me. Some people went to a community college close to me, so we still maintain that. And then others went to different states. And, we still talk to each other online. But then there's those friends that don't go online or only go on social media. And I'm not a social media kind of guy. So
You're not a social kind of guy.
I'm pretty social. But, it was hard to maintain those other types of friends because, I didn't really have a way to maintain it. There wasn't really a social media because I hate social media. That's for me personally.
That's a strong word.
I dislike social media. And some other people, they only communicate, they maintain their friendships through Snapchat and Instagram. And I'm not that type of guy. So it's definitely a struggle depending on what kind of person you are.
Okay, I see. Did you have one before I pop in on that?
Yep. So, to go back to the definition, my definition of a friend is where, say, me and Ahmed I consider us friends, right?
We're friends.
Okay. I'd
hate it if we weren't.
Yeah.
I say that we're constantly trying to improve each other, making
Right.
sure that one of us improves, at least. If I feel like if you're giving a friend more tea, and it seems like they're not accepting or they're not improving as much as you think they should, I think either you shouldn't cut ties immediately.
Right.
I feel like they should go down tiers. I would say if they're going from great friend, go from a good friend, and then go from a good friend to a friend. And then if they're just cutting off ties, then it doesn't seem like they want to improve. I feel like you just have to let them go.
Yeah, which I well put. Okay. So to answer my question, do you think it's a kind of a struggle to maintain relationships, friendships?
The only struggle would be if they don't accept your help or if they're not trying to improve.
If they don't maintain it either.
Yeah, and keeping in mind that I feel I should have worded that a different way because automatically I just kind of put you guys in a corner saying that it's a struggle, which I guess I just gave y'all a trick question. Because
Leading question. Do you know what that is?
A misleading?
No.
Or a
leading question is where you ask a question, but you lead towards an answer. for example, a lot of lawyers say stuff like, "Isn't it true?" or "Wouldn't you say that that this person is a sketchy kind of person?" They are leading you to saying an answer that's similar to, "Yeah, the person is sketchy."
Okay, that's not what I was trying to do.
Well, then I don't know what you're trying to say.
Well, no. I was quite literally asking a question, but I feel like I should have, because I, out of the floodgates, just said, "Do you think it's a struggle, a hard thing to maintain?" Which black and white, that automatically made it a black and white type deal. But I got exactly what both of you were saying. When I'm going to bounce off and say that when it comes to relationships, you can't let anyone willy-nilly. We've already agreed. You can't let anyone willy-nilly walk into the center of the dartboard.
Right.
They have to earn that. They have to, you can say you have to have been able to, I don't want to seem too harsh, like prove or anything. But I guess earn is a good thing. That's a fine one?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So they have to earn that level of trust and respect, or not, honesty and openness and stuff to move to the center. The reason why, again, center is very vulnerable. Your guard is down when they're at the center. And so if you just aren't really aware and you let anyone just walk on up in there, then they can be self-destructive. They could be a bad person. You just didn't take the time to actually get to know them. And so, boom, they do something bad, and now you're dumping all this time, energy, and attention into them, and now you've just jeopardized whatever course your life was currently on. Usually, not in every situation. What I would say, and what I guess I should have said is, no, I don't know what I should have said. My own answer would then be, no, I don't think should be a struggle. I do believe that things will naturally work its way out. When you, what was your, remind me again, what'd you say? When it came to the question, you said you don't put forth the effort through social media, through different means of communication.
It's a struggle for me.
Yeah. So in that case, it is a struggle. I would say that when it comes to looking at that relationship, then it wouldn't really be if it's based off of social media. Of course, you have internet friends, right? And then you have a friend who moved away, so you don't see them all the time. So yeah, sure, maybe there's a social media outlet you can talk to, or PS4 or Discord or whatnot. But the whole deal with the struggle, which I rebuke that. I don't think it should be a struggle. I think it's more appropriate to say that there is work to be done on both parts. It's kind of like a scramble. You are, like you said, constantly trying to better each other. Because, if everyone's happy-go-lucky, all the time and nothing's ever wrong, things just kind of get boring. Or, well, that's
repetitive.
I don't know. That might be going a little too in the opposite direction, so I'm going to pull in. But I do think that, yes, with your definition, which is I like that definition of having to put forth effort, time, energy, and attention to be constantly constructing each other into a better human being. That's ultimately going to require struggle, because that's the only way you can get better is through struggle. There's no growth in the comfort zone. If you're always comfortable all the time, then you're not going to be better. You're just going to sit on the couch and eat 20 pizzas and 8 Big Macs and stuff and just be comfy, because it's nice. Macs. It's friendly. Big Macs. And so, forgive me for asking such a bad question. See, I shouldn't come up with questions on the fly. But
another thing is, you can struggle with trying to maintain a friendship. There's some things that are either out of your control, or it's just you as a person that may get in the way of you trying to maintain that friendship. But the example, like with me and Kevin, like, it's not a struggle for me and him because we both put in time and energy. So if we both do that, it's just easier for everyone else.
Yeah. I would say when you're cultivating a relationship, which again is the big thing here, you have to cultivate and maintain that. You have to plant the seed. That is why we have the dartboard system, right? Because again, we said this before the episode. I don't know how we became friends. Totally beyond me. I know we met in 8th grade. I know we had something in football, But after that, I don't know. I don't know.
It's a blur.
Yeah, because I feel because it was natural. I think that's the significance there. And I was not actively maintaining anything. There was no actual. It wasn't like a goal. A goal you have to struggle to achieve. It might be the water making me burp. Who knows? A goal you have to struggle to achieve, right? And that's what makes the goal worthwhile. When it comes to friends, you're not. You should not be. Okay. There's no way to set a goal when it comes to a level of friends. That is just stuff you push, not push, you have happen naturally. When it comes to, I guess the best way to explain it, when it comes to things, you have things and you got people. So when it comes to like a goal of getting a car, that is a goal you can set because it's always going to be a car. A car will always be there. Nothing's going to change about it. So you can set the goal, climb the ladder, and get that car. When it comes to people, totally different ball game because it's a person and they're alive. They have their own thoughts. They have things that you don't know about. They have all this jazz going on with them. And so, of course, you don't want to do the mental gymnastics to figure out what's going on with them and all that jazz. So you just have to learn to let things happen. But I do think, if you're trying to constantly better yourself and the world around you, you will naturally draw in people towards you. You will naturally make people better. And I think of it kind of like a flashlight. If you are a flashlight, then darkness cannot surround you. It will not, well, if you're holding a flashlight in the dark, then I guess it is behind you. But regardless, if you are like a candle, would that be a better one? Because it kind of gets a 360 light. I'm going to stop with that one. Okay, moving on. I would advise when it comes to acquaintances, because I know I've always done this. And of course, I just said I don't know how we began to be friends, but I knew that as I was a wee lad, I would watch people. I would observe people, and like that's what I did in school. I would not people. I don't know what people saw in me. I wasn't a butthole, but I was kind of nice. But I had like bad thoughts all the time, and I wasn't interacting with people unless someone approached me usually, or unless I wanted something. I would then go try and get it. But watching people, you get to see their outward actions. And that's why I do believe what people do, what you see, what their outward actions are reflect what their inner thoughts are. And so if you're trying to cultivate a relationship, again with the dartboard, we have acquaintances. And so we have to observe the outward actions of our acquaintances. So I would recommend that you have to see how respectful they are, who they're respecting. What are they honest? Are they caring? Are they self-destructive? Are they what's impetuous? That seems like the right word to say.
No idea.
See, you have all these words in your head and you just can't use them. You just can't. There's no definition.
Is it even a real word?
It is.
I didn't even know
It's a
real
weird.
word.
I think it's like hasty. All right. Anyway, I guess that's the best advice I could give to someone. To cultivate a relationship, you have to first observe them, and that's why, you kind of play it safe. You want to make sure things are healthy and not rushed. And so you have to observe how they are, who they are as an acquaintance. And, of course, if Ahmed introduced Kevin to me, I'm like, okay, Ahmed's a stud. So this guy must be, somewhere up there. He must be okay. And so that happens a lot, which is okay. But I still watch you. Because Ahmed, you guys might not be super close, but you're close enough to introduce me. But there might be something that you do, Kevin,
that you don't like.
That I don't like, Kevin. So you have to observe in order to introduce them as a normal friend. And that's why as a normal friend, they got a grace period. They have a little, it's kind of dipping your toe in the water.
Right.
And then it continues to grow naturally. And there are things you can do. If an acquaintance invited me to an arcade game, I'm not going to be like, I personally don't hang out one-on-one with an acquaintance. That's me. So if someone invited me and they were what I would consider an acquaintance, I would have to think and see, okay, I only would hang out with the person one-on-one if they were a friend. So do they meet the requirements? That seems too
high and mighty.
Yeah. But do they fit? Are they do they act this way? Do I know if they think this way?
Are they ready to go up the tier from acquaintance to a friend?
There we go. Like as a checkbox almost, which is And then in that case, if they are, I'm like, yeah, sure. You know what? It's time. That is the time, and it'll naturally happen. And that's what I mean by naturally maintain.
So that also means like, yeah, things can naturally happen, but there is still certain things that you have to do to try to maintain that or try to build up. Because in that scenario, naturally, like if you just continue to hang out with each other, it's like, oh, eventually we'll get closer. We hang out with each other more, but it would still have to start eventually by one of you inviting someone to the arcade.
Taking the first step. Yeah, and which we'll get that can start to bleed into like romance, which we'll get to here in the next episode. But yes, you need to take. Someone's going to have to take the first step, which I think the opportunity is going to come naturally. Right now, if I look at my life, I had friends who I would sneak out with and try to cover my tracks and lie about hanging out with them just to go smoke pot and do whatever I wanted to do because I could, because I had no restrictions. I had nothing. No one's caging me because I'm a free wild beast. I'm a man. And so as I was a kid, thinking that I knew everything, and it was like I thought I was awesome as heck. I was doing whatever I wanted, and that was taking me down this pretty treacherous path, and not the Voyagers Path. And I was just doing whatever I wanted to do. And now I'm at this point where I host a game night at my house with people who I have people who are, everyone's older than me there. I mean, their oldest guy's like 40. He's like 30 something. Oops, don't hate me, Grant. And he is a forensic analysis. He performs autopsies. He does good work for the human race. He finds out how this person died and how to bring it to justice. I have another person who's a creative artist, and he's in his also late 20s, early 30s. The fact is, my life after I decided to let go of these people I called friends, because I never defined what a friend was. I didn't define what you were. I didn't know what you were. I just knew I liked hanging around with you. And so you just call that person, you just call that thing a friend. Right?
Thing.
And so after, of course, my dad had to hold a mirror up to me. He had to strap me down and put a mirror in front of my face, like, look what you're doing wrong. Not that aggressively, but in part metaphorically. So through that, I was like, okay, I don't want this. I don't want A, I want B. I don't want to settle to be a manager somewhere and work a 9 to 5. And yeah, I'll have pot. Yeah, I'll have a cute, nice, lovely lady in my apartment that I live with.
Nicely.
Of course, I want some of that, but I don't want it. I don't want to settle for that. I want to go and work and struggle. I want to be like, no, I won't bring up Sisyphus. I just want to work for it. I wanted to achieve these higher goals that I have. And so I think there's a good quote I had on that. Nope. There we go. I started to surround myself with friends, and my life changed the moment I decided to change my friends. After I decided to change my life, that follows suit, and it's kind of like a necessary thing to happen. Because like you said before, you are who you hang out with. So that's that. I then have the next segment, Bad Friends. Yes, please. You raised your finger. What is it?
I was about to say it, but I think it leads to bad friends, so I think I'm going to hold it for now.
Okay. Well, I was actually going to say if you guys have any bad. I was going to ask if you guys have bad friends or have had bad friends.
Personally?
Yeah.
Do you have any examples?
You've never had a bad friend? Are you just like a spotless, clean...
He's perfect.
Innocent
in every way.
Perfect.
If I know someone that was
Sculpted by
bad,
the
I wouldn't
gods.
be friends with him.
Touche. All right.
But I'm a bad example. Go to someone else.
I would say, everyone has those bad friends, but there's times where you tell yourself, are they a friend? And then they're going to become a bad friend, and then they're not going to be a friend at all. So it's either they're going to be an acquaintance, but if they're really bad and they're toxic, there's a reason why you had to cut them off, then I would say there's no point of calling them a bad friend. They're just not a friend at all.
Yeah. Okay.
They're just a stranger at that point.
Yeah, and people have people have bad friends, and I would say that's contradictory. A friend is a certain thing. A friend is, I'm just going to go ahead and say what I would define as a friend. A friend is someone that they're positive, they're trustworthy, they're respectful of others, they're honest, healthy, they have a healthy mindset, they're well-mannered, they're humble, they're actively trying to better themselves and the environment around them. And so that's just kind of my general idea of what a friend is if I were to define one. And, if they're not that, if they're a butthole, then that doesn't meet the criteria. Well, is criteria a tough word? Is that too tough on the kids?
He's looking straight at me. I think he doesn't think I know what that word means.
No, that's not.
Dang, man.
No, I was like, is criteria too high and mighty?
Criteria
if they
is
see
fine.
Okay.
I think it's fine.
Okay. So if someone doesn't meet that marker, then yeah, I wouldn't even call it like bad friend. They have to be bad at being good.
Kick him to the curb.
Yeah, kick him to the curb. Curb stomp. Get him out of the way. Yes,
well,
ma'am.
curb stomp is a little
That's
extreme.
So what
extreme.
were you gonna say? You had your little finger up.
Oh,
your little wiggly.
I was just gonna say something like Kevin said, like, you often have scenarios where like you have a good friend or a great friend, and I wouldn't say a phase, but somewhere down the line in your life and his life, he just makes a lot of bad decisions. Like, he still hangs out with you, but he hangs out with other people that are the bad crowd, or however you want to
the hooligans,
stop.
the naysayers.
But they also do a bunch of other stuff, like break the law constantly or bully people. And, when you first started being friends with him, and as they grew up as being a good friend, it's like, he wouldn't do something like that, so he's a good friend. And then he starts to change. And at that point, you sort of have to make a difficult decision. You have to, obviously tell him about it and bring it up and say, hey, man, you changed, and I don't think it's for the best. If they're willing to change, then that's something that you guys have to work on together, because if they're a really close friend, then you have to give that time, energy, and attention to try to make, like Kevin said, improve him. But, if he doesn't change, if he doesn't want to change, if he, when you bring it up to him, if he doesn't see it that way, then that's just something that, you're just going to have to let go, like they said.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, you are accountable for that. And
Mm-hmm.
whatever mayhem they're causing, if they are in your inner circle or even close to it, then that's going to influence
Mm-hmm.
you because of the level of influence they have.
Yeah.
Like all that tea could be going to somewhere else. Yeah.
Yeah, all that could be going to something to better yourself, to to get your foot up in the world,
Right.
So we're at our last 8 minutes. So there's this one note that I wanted to say and get to. So I'm going to just read from this. So, your future. Friends, they are a positive influence. They are also a marker of your life. By that I mean your friends years ago might be different than who they are now. In my case, that is true. In my case, it is due to deciding that I will live a more rewarding and constructive life. And when I decided to change my future, my friends changed. There's that quote from earlier. If all you do with your friends, quote unquote, is smoke pot, then no, there is no substance to that friendship, which is what happened to me. All I ended up doing with my friends, the only time we got together was just smoking pot. Yeah, before then, there was something else. Mm-hmm. But at that point in time, it was just to smoke pot, get crossfaded, drink, do quote unquote fun stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So there is no substance to that friendship anymore. You may have had a bond, you may trust them, you may like them, but if the only time you see these people is to smoke pot, then it is not a constructive relationship. Know that there is no longer a bond there. Pot is not the problem. The problem is you are surrounding yourself with people who want to do nothing else with their time other than smoke pot and make money to buy more pot. Why? Why do they want to do that? Because they're too scared to change their life. Either they don't have the will to make things happen, or they don't have the energy or mental space to reflect on themselves and their time and formulate a plan to escape whatever constant hell that they're living in. And successful people, like Joe Rogan, he smoked pot, and I would call him materially at least successful. Like him and Elon Musk, that was a big meme, is that he was smoking pot with, I think must have been.
That was the thing.
That was a thing. Okay. Mm-hmm. I didn't dream that good. So yeah, you can have successful people, and you can be successful and do that. You can totally do that. I'm not going to say you can't. Now, people who have lots of money and enjoy their life, they can do that, and I'm not demonizing pot. I'm demonizing the drifting mindset, which is going to go right back to what Kevin had said. You are who you hang out with. And people will easily fall into this mindset of surrounding themselves with these quote-unquote friends who they have no definition for. These friends who are also drifting along, cruising, doing nothing worthwhile, and not constructing their world into a better one, and not helping you, or their own friends, quote-unquote, build their better life. And they are just staying stagnant. And that's just what that's exactly what drifting does, is you just stay stagnant, you don't think for yourself, you're just going along with what everyone else is doing. And so you surround yourself with people who are doing what everyone else is doing. And that is just, I feel, one of the more important things. So to kind of wrap all that up, you have to be aware of what a friend is and make sure that the people you have in your life right now, like I said, write that list and decide, are they a normie friend? Are they a good friend, a great friend, or a best friend? And I slid that word in. A normal friend or good, great, best. And decide, what does it mean to be a good, great, best friend or a normal friend? What will you do for these people? What won't you do for these people? How much time, energy, and attention do these people get? And then to cultivate and maintain relationships, you have to observe first. You just don't move in and then, hey, you seem cool, want to be my friend, and then now you are hanging out with Ted Bundy. Don't do that. Don't be that guy. The next thing is to maintain it. You have to be able to determine when things are going south, when your plant's dying. If your plant's dying, if the friendship is going south, you do what you can. Exactly what you said. You do what you can. But there's only so much you should do, because now you're going to be accountable for whatever goes south. And so you will have to start moving them down from best to good to great. Well, probably won't happen from best, most likely, but from great, good to normal.
You never know.
You never know. You never know. And next thing is that some things to remember. You choose to have these relationships in your life. Remember that relationships are allowed a realm of influence, so you have to be aware who is where. You have to be aware of who is where. That sounds be aware that negativity in people is similar to that of a disease that can spread. Keep the diseased people outside of your dartboard. Make sure they don't get in, because what they're going to do, like zombies, they're going to infect you. Dun, dun, dun. And then remember that friends will influence you to such a degree that your future can lie in that balance. So back to that quote, friends are your future. They will have such a high impact that you have to be cautious and be aware and make sure it's constructive to some degree. Oh, dang. That's all I have at this point. I was going to do like the outro, but do you guys have anything to say?
Not personally.
I need to start making the part of the intro, the JPK bra. I don't think I even said it last time.
I thought you were going to know.
Man. Okay. Well, that's all I have, folks. But the little outro, we are part of the JPK Broadcasting Network system. You can find it on YouTube. They have a YouTube channel. Ba-boom. We also have our own website called Voyagers Path Yeah. I'm getting a yes. There is... Oof.
It's right there.
Right
Point
there.
it.
Yeah, that's how you can contact us. We have Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and you can find that they're all going to be Voyagers Path. Quite simple. You can reach out to me. I'm the one who's running all the accounts, so if you actually need to reach out, you can reach out to me. The next segment is going to be romance, so just a little tip. Write down some failed relationships you have. We've all had those, but it's similar to today, writing down your friends and what you consider a friend. I'm going to do that again with relationships. What romantic relationships you've had and kind of how they went south, how they ended, and at the end of the day, you learn that was mainly your fault. But, debatable. So when it comes down to next week, be prepared to dissect your romance life. Wow, 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 wow.
You're singing like a romantic song?
That is like a sexy song.
It's like the song you make whenever...
Farewell. Farewell, Voyagers. Farewell, sisters.
I can feel it inside me.
What?
That's the song. Right?
What?
No, it's... like a romantic sign. You,
You
don't
can
know?
feel it inside.